Welcome to episode 58 of Learn, Do, Become Radio. I'm April Perry, and here at Learn, Do, Become, we help people who are drowning in details of life to be able to create simple systems so they can do what matters most, both personally and professionally. We talk about architecting lives of excellence. We talk about getting organized, and one of our main things that we do here is help our community members to build command centrals. We call it our STEP program, Steps to Everyday Productivity. And today we're talking a little bit about that, but really in the context of how it helps us to make room to wait or incubate and grieve. And the thing is that all of us are going through some things that are hard. And sometimes it's easier to focus on podcasts that are talking about how to exercise or how to eat well or how to be able to put some new habits into place. And I love that. I love talking about books and ideas and how to organize your calendar, how to organize your emails and things like that. But sometimes it's really helpful to acknowledge how much is going on and really talk about what we do on a daily basis to be able to manage all of those emotions and feelings and those types of things. So today we have a guest post I'm going to read that was written by one of our team members, Kristen Archuleta. And we also have some quotes that were pulled from members of our Steps to Everyday Productivity program, things that they've shared in the Facebook group and gave us permission to share here on the podcast. I want you to know you're not alone in what you're going through, and I want you to know there 100% is hope available to you. So I'm going to start out reading Kristen's post, the part that she wrote, and then we'll jump into what our community members said. Trauma is a natural part of so many of life's challenges. Abandonment, divorce, illness or death of a loved one, infertility, abuse, chronic illness, addiction, natural disaster, and these just name a few. At a conference Kristen, attended a year ago, Dorothy Marion, a practicing clinical mental health counselor, shared an analogy of trees in a storm to show how stressful situations can affect us differently. The first group of trees weathers the storm without any change. They remain straight and strong during the strong winds and after the storm has passed. These trees represent the times when we are able to continue functioning normally before, during, and after a stressful situation. The second group of trees bends and sways during the storm, but when the winds pass, they once again stand tall, regaining their former shape. Life is disrupted in the midst of the stressful situation, but when that time has passed, things go back to normal. The third group of trees, however, suffers during the storm. Some lose branches, others crack and bend, and are unable to regain their original shape again. This is the kind of trauma I'd like to focus on. This trauma shatters the way we view our world, and it shatters our identity within that world construct. Rebuilding and healing from that kind of trauma is a painful process that takes time. It often involves grieving as we acknowledge the things we have lost. It can also become a beautiful process of post-traumatic growth. Over the past couple years, my personal journey into the Steps to Everyday Productivity program has coincided fairly closely with this type of life-altering trauma. I've had realities and truths that I've had to re-examine. I've experienced a deep sense of grief and loss for things I thought I had. And because of this experience, I've gained a unique perspective on productivity that I'd like to share. And this is a quote by Dorothy Marion. We need to take time to grieve when we've been hurt. That's just what human beings do. We need to facilitate time and space to do that. You can't shortchange grief. It doesn't go away. People can ignore it and they can get really busy and they can do all sorts of things, but grief just keeps showing up. And so if you can face it and go through that really painful experience, you will be farther along in the road. How do we intentionally make time and space in our ever-moving lives for grief? While working through this beautifully painful process of post-traumatic growth, what do we do with all the tasks, the projects, and the heavy things that weigh on our minds? Focus on essentials. This is the first segment of the post. Sometimes what you don't do is just as important as what you do. That's a quote by Greg McKeown, who wrote the book Essentialism. Over the past few years, I've had to deliberately leave space in my projects and routines to grieve, to recover. I need time to process my emotions and do self-care. I need to be intentional about planning time to connect with others and with my higher power. Here are some ways I do this. First, keep my current projects list limited to 1 to 3 projects. While April and Eric talk about having 7 to 8 projects on this list, I've often chosen to cut down on projects even further. This decision to work through projects sequentially instead of in parallel helps immensely to reduce my overwhelm. It also increases my clarity and focus during times when my life feels unmanageable and I'm just not sure what is most important to work on. And she even has a screenshot of how she organizes her projects, which is awesome. She uses digital resources and she's amazing. All right, second, center my routines list around my need for time and space. For me, this means prioritizing self-care and connection. Self-care is much broader than taking bubble baths and eating chocolate, although I definitely count my nightly hot shower as self-care. Sometimes self-care has meant doing things that are outside of my comfort zone, like reaching out when I'm feeling isolated or trying out a yoga class at the local gym. Self-care empowers me to take healthy actions, prioritizing kindness towards myself. Connection plays a large role in my routines as well because it is crucial for healing. I attend a weekly support group, I connect with family members on the phone, and I connect with God. I have also chosen to center my routines list around healing in other ways. I set aside time weekly for recovery work. I plan extra time around sleep because I know that in the midst of heavy emotions, I don't sleep well. Whatever healing looks like for you, make space for it, include it in your routines. Moving on to the next section, have places to hold the rest. First is a someday list, a place to hold the ideas I want to do but just can't do right now. Some projects in my someday list are sorted by topic, thoroughly outlined, and include links to resources and notes with my thoughts and ideas. Other projects aren't even fully formed ideas yet, but having a place to gather and organize my ideas, even when they aren't current, has been so powerful. I'm going to pause from this really quick. The someday list is part of the STEP Command Central. It's having a place to write things down that you want to do someday, but today is not that day. And I actually got an email from a mother in Peru. This was 8 years ago. And she said, I have young children and I'm always trying to do so many things and I'm so overwhelmed. And now that I have my someday list, I put all my dreams in there and now I enjoy my children and I'm enjoying my life because I know my dreams are safe. Oh, I love that. All right, going back to Kristen's post. Second is the incubation list. Holding place for pending decisions, questions, and things outside my control. My incubation list is a great place to keep projects or ideas I'm not ready to decide on. Often in the midst of major life change, I feel pressure on so many fronts. Putting these things down in a list where I know they're safe relieves a lot of the pressure I feel to make big decisions before I'm ready. I also don't have to have answers to all my questions right now. Some questions weigh heavily on my mind. Until I find answers, it's helpful to have a place to hold them, to write thoughts, and to gather related resources. Finally, my incubation list is a holding place for things that affect me or worry me that are outside of my control. A place to write them down and keep them so they aren't stuck in my mind. Okay, pausing another minute. I love that idea. I never even thought about that. Things you're worried about, but you can't control, incubate them, write them down. Love it. Okay, back to Kristen. Third is waiting, a place to hold the tasks or projects I've delegated. I can delegate. When something isn't done yet, I don't need to worry and fret about it because I have delegated it. And now I have a place to put that task until it's time to follow up on it. Awesome. And just a side note, that can be linked with a calendar trigger. You can put things in your waiting folder and either just review it every week, or you could say, I at least need to hear back about it by this date, set a little calendar trigger, and you're good to go. All right, next section of the post. Combat failure with grace, self-compassion, and a higher power. More than once, I've gotten stuck thinking that the steps I take have to look a certain way in order for them to, quote, count, end quote. But here's the truth. When I take steps to reconstruct my identity and sense of self, it counts as progress. When I engage in self-care, it counts as a success. Healing and growth can, and often do, include going back and working on things I thought I had figured out before. Life and progress aren't linear. So when you feel like you're failing, broaden your definition of what counts. And then she has a photo because our Learn to Become team member Danielle uses what's called a happy success list to do this. And there's a picture of it. We also have a whole post on it. I think it's in a previous podcast. But come look at the show notes page for this podcast and you can see Danielle has listed her next actions where she writes down all the things that she needs to do, like make an after school routine chart and pack a park bag and scan some pictures and call Jen, right? All these things like that. But then on the right-hand side of the page, she has her happy success of things that she did, like, oh, I used these 15 minutes to tidy some of the food spaces, or I read extra books to the kids, or I prayed for a stranger, right? Or I prepared dinner early. This is where it's so fun to be able to acknowledge all the great things that we do. All right, continuing on with the post. There are still times when my life feels completely unmanageable. It's hard and painful, and I fall short, letting people down. During these times, I love the serenity prayer because it reminds me that when things feel too heavy, I can surrender, that there is higher power who's there for us. Now, a lot of you probably already know the serenity prayer. It's the one that says, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And then it goes on a little bit more. But whatever your higher power or the way that you think about God or heaven or strength, you could write something that you can review over and over and over again whenever you need it to help you to be able to get back to center and back to what's going to help you. So then Kristen adds, however you define your higher power, I hope that you can connect with that power in the midst of your tree-breaking storms. I truly believe that our higher power can help us grow in ways we never could foresee as we face our heartbreaking challenges. Now, this section of the post is called From Our Community. She says, here are some incredible ways our STEP community members have used their STEP Command Centrals to help them move through difficult situations with more clarity and peace. Now, some of these are done anonymously. We read several of them in our Facebook group and asked people if we could include. So a lot of them are anonymous, but I just want you to be able to hear their stories. We do share these with permission. All right, first one says, I just started the STEP program. I got so much out of the Drowning in Piles webinar that I signed up. And last Sunday, the STEP granddaughter that I adopted ran away. I'm not going to get into all the details. What has been awesome for me is that I've been able to handle this as a project. I reviewed what were already projects, removed a few, and proceeded from there. As the sheriff gave me tasks to do, I made them assign priority to the order of the tasks, and I did them. Yes, I have lost sleep, but I have never had this much calm in the face of adversity. I am so grateful right now for the program. When the new officers assigned to the case showed up to my house today, they couldn't hide being impressed at my project file folder with all the information so far on the case. When I started this program, I thought that I could only work at it if there was nothing major going on in my life. I had no idea it would help me so much when something major was happening in my life. Okay, that just gave me chills. Like, so grateful and so excited because you can tell how much she loves this step granddaughter. She's willing to reprioritize. She's willing to put in all the effort and put things in order and get them done. But now she has a method to do it, so she doesn't just need to freeze, right? All right, next one says, the last few years have been some of the most difficult times in my life. Having experienced some serious trauma as a youngster, my life path went in directions I never imagined. Lost, out of control, making horrible choices, I decided to stand still for a while and do some soul searching, made huge changes in my life, and then it hit me hard. I could finally see where my choices had led me. Drowning in piles, debt, stuff, and lacking any direction. I felt alone, scared, and never imagined how I'd get myself out of these disasters I created for myself. STEP entered my life a few years ago, and for the first time in my life, I had money to spend on something healthy and good for me, despite never completing the entire program yet. I do not know how I would have gotten through the many difficult situations being thrown my way. I knew enough of the system to be able to handle what was coming at me, preventing being smothered and useless. I've been the full-time live-in caregiver for my parents, my dad with later stage Alzheimer's, and my mom, diagnosed with many chronic illnesses and hospitalized twice last year, nearly losing her life, has recently been diagnosed with breast cancer. These last few years have been a challenge, to say the least. Having STEP has been a huge help in my life and loved ones by extension. It was difficult for me at first, as I've never been taught how to do simple things most adults do. It took my brain a while to change how I used to live to how I do now, and I'm only halfway through STEP. I can only imagine what life will be like when I do finally finish and am able to live the life I've always dreamed of. Thank you, STEP, and all the steppers for being a compassionate, supportive, non-judgmental community and group of people. Okay, so I actually haven't read these in advance. Some of these I'd seen, briefly through the Facebook group, but like that one I'd never read. And my heart just feels full, if I can just tell you guys, because there's been a lot that's gone into creating this program and creating this community and building our team and all of this. And to see the beauty of what the community is doing, I feel really humbled because it's not me and it's not my power. There's something bigger working here. And I just want you to know, I know it's not me. Okay. All right, here's another one. I feel like I'm opening Christmas presents. All right, it says, I started STEP a few years after a traumatic family life event. My son was wrongly placed in foster care after months of us working with providers and knowledgeable friends to help him nurse and gain weight appropriately after birth. I was already familiar with David Allen's GTD principles, but struggling to make them a daily habit. My house and office were still under many piles and only making progress when I felt I had energy to give. I've been to a few counselors since gaining custody back of our son, which took 3 months of foster placement and another 3 to be official. As with many official situations, there was a lot of paperwork to add onto my piles of info from life beforehand. I grew even more numb to the piles to focus on healing. I had been praying more and going to church regularly and asking God for all sorts of things pertaining to his plan for my life. I feel like he dropped the STEP free introductory course right into my newsfeed. How to finally stop drowning in piles. I made time to watch the hour-long class and felt God calling me to sign up for the full program. Since starting STEP, my family, friends, and people I collaborate with on advocating issues have noticed that I am much more organized and reliable. It's only been 6 months, and I am no longer worried about implementing an organizational system into my life. The basics are set up and functioning. April has explained my beloved GTD system in a way that helps this busy person with just a few resources make it happen. We are all still healing. The difference is that now we have a plan for that and all the rest that life is throwing at us. Thank you for your caring vision at Learn, Do, Become. Oh my gosh. These stories, these are heroes right here. And the thing is, when you're scrolling through social media, looking on Instagram, looking on the internet, these aren't the kinds of stories that you typically hear. You don't actually know what's going on behind the scenes. And I hope that as you're listening to these stories, that you're recognizing that the hard things that you're going through, while they're unique to you and they're definitely challenging, you are not alone. In fact, you are in really good company. I think the people in our community, the ones that you've already heard from in this post, and the ones that I get to interact with on a daily basis, I believe are some of the best people that I've ever met in my life. And I feel so privileged and so grateful to get to be part of this. All right, here's another one. My daughter was born October 2012. I had been working at the hospital for 11 years and became a stay-at-home mom. I knew I wouldn't continue working after she was born, but that transition in identity was difficult. I was soon diagnosed with postpartum anxiety and OCD. I was consistently worried, experienced intrusive thoughts, and had panic attacks when preparing to leave the house. I also had severe back pain that at times prevented me from picking up and caring for my baby. Then the unexplained joint/muscle pain and weight gain started. In July 2016, I learned I was pregnant. I was overjoyed. I was also very sick, sleeping up to 18 hours a day. I had an ultrasound at 22 weeks, and we were informed our son had medical issues. I had a lot of testing done, and the doctors asked if we wanted to consider termination. We ultimately decided that was not the route to take and proceeded to have extensive monitoring and consults with a variety of specialists. We began preparing for a life with a special needs child. Spencer was born on January 5th, 2017, and died a couple hours after birth. He spent most of that time in the NICU, and I had no idea the extent of his medical issues until the last moments of his life. I was beyond devastated and so angry. 2017 was a miserable year. I was fed up with everything, especially my own health issues. I began seeing a variety of specialists for my physical well-being. No one could come up with a diagnosis. By chance, I heard about the keto diet and decided on a whim to give it a try. Nothing else had worked, and I figured it couldn't hurt. Within a week, my pain was gone. I still don't have an official diagnosis, but it's looking like my issues are caused by a food sensitivity. Being in better physical health greatly improved my outlook. I was able to start dealing with the pain of Spencer's death. The How to Stop Drowning in Piles class popped up into my newsfeed in April 2018. I managed to sit at my computer to watch and realized this is what I had been subconsciously searching for my whole life. I'm a very neat, organized person by nature. My degree is in project management. I should know how to handle everything. I wanted so much more for my life, and STEP was a way to handle the mundane things so I could move on to bigger and better dreams. In the past year plus, STEP has given me hope. STEP is sometimes a distraction from my thoughts and sometimes a way to deal with them. It has given me the ability to think less about the daily details and put more focus on taking care of myself. I have learned a lot about myself, and I'm continuing to grieve and heal. One of the things on my list of motivators when I'm in a funk is to listen to a Learn to Become podcast. I feel like STEP has been part of my post-traumatic growth. I certainly wish I didn't need to experience trauma to gain that growth, though. I'm loving the revamped program, and things are clicking even better this time through. I still have bad days, but more and more are good. STEP has helped me realize I can't do it all and prioritize which things to do first to help me achieve my goals. I still wish I could be all better right now, but I'm learning I will get where I want to be eventually. Okay. I probably should have read through these first so I wasn't so caught off guard and so emotional as I'm reading through them, but oh my goodness. Okay. This is amazing. At the end of this post, we have a question and a challenge. I'm just going to jump into those because I can't even process everything I'm feeling right now. So the question is, what situation is weighing most heavily on you this week? Are there 2 to 3 projects or routines that you could eliminate from your current lists to make emotional and mental space to deal with that situation? Great question. And challenge. Take 5 to 10 minutes to identify some tasks, projects, and/or routines that could be delegated, deferred, dropped, or added to an incubation list. I love this because oftentimes we're talking about how to get things done ourselves, how to actually do things. And this week, we want to help you not to do some things so you can make room for this healing and room for you to be able to think through things. In fact, this is what I'm doing right now. I'm on one of my hotel nights. So if you hear the vacuum in the background, they're cleaning the other rooms I'm about to check out. But I'm taking some time away where I'm thinking and praying and planning, because there's some stories in my life, some grief and some trauma that I have never talked about on a podcast, because it's not just me, it involves other people. But it feels heavy to me sometimes. And as we go through loss and as we go through challenges, we need that time. I am so grateful that Kristen and Taryn helped put together this post, gathering things from our community, putting them all together for you. This is actually something that's really helping me, because I feel a big kind of a burden of responsibility. We have a whole lot of people here at Learn to Become, and we're sending like more than 500,000 emails every month. I mean, we have a lot more than that. We have a lot of emails going out. There's a lot happening, and I'm still raising children. I'm still learning how to grow a marriage, and I'm still learning how to take care of myself and how to process things. And there was actually one day when I was just having a personal prayer, and my question was, why can't I just wait until I figured all this out before I get on a microphone and start podcasting? Like, why don't I just put it on hold and wait until I've arrived emotionally and mentally and everything before I start teaching? Because it's kind of embarrassing for me a little bit to be working through things publicly, because I just think, man, I should have known those things. But the answer I got was that people don't need to hear from someone who no longer has problems. They need to see how we work through our problems, because everyone is going through challenges. So just like Kristen and our community members are showing up here, and I'm showing up here, I encourage you to be able to do the same, to be able to take those steps and start walking forward and be able to get where you know you're meant to be. There is so much goodness available and there's so much power available. And I'm so thankful you're here. If you're wondering what this class is everyone's talking about, come to learndobecome.com/step and you can sign up. And if you want just to go to the show notes page and read through what I've just shared with you, you can go to learndobecome.com/episode 58. Have an amazing day. Thanks so much for being with us at learndobecome.com.